Hello, Jason. How are you this morning?
I'm great, Mr. Esteem. I'm doing really well. I can't complain.
It is good to hear from you. I understand you just celebrated a birthday recently. Are you still celebrating it?
Nah, I am moved on from the great, biggest celebration of my life, man. The birthday party was amazing. Some really great people came out and showed love, and that party was more about celebrating the people that helped me in the last year. That has been really pretty successful. So I'm no longer in celebration work mode. I'm in work mode. So,
Okay. So
yeah.
speaking of work, what are you working on?
Well, I'm working on building my production team for Cybersex to Play, and which includes acquiring all of the team players that's needed on the production side of things, like an attorney, accountant, producers, and composers and things of that nature. So that part of it is a big learning curve for me because I created my production company, the Hunt for Love Productions, to produce the show, and I'm more the artist. So, learning all of the business end of it is kind of taking up the majority of my time right now. And I'm also converting the script into Final Draft, which is the industry standard format for screenplay. So that's what I'm working on primarily.
Okay, let's step back and talk about Cyber Sex to Play. What is
Mhm.
it? Where did you get the idea for it? And so
Mhm.
on and so forth.
Well, the idea came early in the technology movement when the internet kind of first started. I guess I could take it back to 2000 is when the original idea came, when we used to go into chat rooms and sort of chat anonymously with people all around the world. And those chats would be really, in my opinion, kind of theatrical and sort of lengthy. They could go on for, anywhere from a short period of time to a couple of hours, and you would build relationships with people you never really got to know or see. And so I had that idea in my head that I wanted to act out the chats that I'd done online. And fast forward, several years later, I started to write it and to gel the chats together that I had transcribed. I interjected my personal life story dealing with sexuality and child abuse in between the chats. So that's kind of the format of Cyber Sex to Play. And it's been proven to be pretty successful with the showcases that I've done this last year. I did like 5 or 6 and got really good feedback.
Okay. And a couple of questions came to mind.
Hmm.
So Cyber Sex is based on your real life experiences and your real life story.
Yes, absolutely.
And B, the second question came to mind is, uh, why was it important to share your story? You talked about sexual abuse. Why did you feel
Yes.
it was important to tell people about that?
Well, it's interesting. I feel like I did not go into writing this story with the intention of sharing my own personal experience with sexual abuse. I was kind of hiding behind the anonymity of the characters that I created in the chat rooms, because that's exactly what it was. People go on the internet and sort of pretend to be, everything that they're not. So me as the writer, I said to myself, I would, write this play about sexuality, but, hide behind those characters and interject my own experience, but, not let it be known that some of these experiences, and especially in the lead character, were experiences of my own. But when I started that process, the, the the idea was powerful based on, I have consultants here and people that I would, share the script with that were in the industry and patrons of the arts that would give me advice. And they said that, if I really went there with the story of abuse, then I would have something powerful that may help the audience really stay attracted to the story and potentially help, victims. So that's when I made the switch of kind of halfway telling the story to fully telling the story based on my life experience, and it sort of jumped off from there.
And I understand that you are involved with the Stop the Abuse campaign as well as with the O'Brien Dennis Foundation. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, I'm actually on the board of directors of the O'Brien Dennis Foundation, which is an upstart nonprofit that focuses on male sexual abuse research and resources for men, mainly minority men, but all men that have been subjected to sexual abuse and dealing with that abuse as adults and how that has impacted them as adults. The Stop the Abuse campaign is also Andrew Willis, the CEO of that, is on the board of directors. And I guess indirectly I'm involved with that, but more or less we're colleagues on the O'Brien Dennis Foundation board of directors. And one of the things that got me involved was I did a photo exhibit called last year at the Schomburg that was called Men Without Voices, the untold story of men without voices. And that went really well, and we're spearheading to get more people to do that. And I'm also going to be starting up a support group where like-minded men that have been survivors of sexual abuse can help other people, men that are still dealing with it, to get to the other side of the tunnel. So those are the two major things I'm doing with the O'Brien Dennis Foundation. And another note, just a side note, we just had our 5th anniversary, and we got a encouraging letter from the White House congratulating us on 5 years, and really making note of the importance of raising our voices and making this sort of movement awareness to the community. And President Obama encouraged us to keep moving forward with it, and so that was really amazing.
Okay, and speaking of the exhibit, it took place at the Schomburg last year.
Mm-hmm.
I recall seeing some of those very powerful photographs through social media. There's one particular photograph where you are holding a photo of, looks like yourself as a young man. Tell me a little bit more about that picture and the meaning behind it.
Yes. I think there were about 12 different participants, and the photograph, which was taken by the famed photographer Michael Letterlow Jr., and Dennis O'Brien came up with the concept that we, all the participants were survivors of molestation or child abuse or sexual abuse or incest or whatever on many different levels. And so we as men, but there were some young boys as well, if you see the whole collection, but men from different ages and stages, them in black and white, us as adults in black and white, holding a color picture of ourselves at the time that we were being molested. And there was no wording or narrative or explanation to what the picture meant. It was for the viewer to look at that picture and understand that this is an image of what sexual abuse looks like. So the color picture of the child is the focal point, because that's where you start. You say, okay, this little boy was molested by his priest, or he was molested by his cousin, or he was molested by someone. And then that little boy grew up to become a man. And what happened between the child and the man to make him what he is, And so that's up to the viewer to sort of interpret and hopefully have a compassion for that journey that is, can be extremely difficult for some in a lifetime journey of healing. So it's a very powerful exhibit. We're trying to get more people involved with it to be able to raise a voice to the voiceless, especially in our community. A lot of people don't want to talk about it. They don't want to hear it. They want to sweep it under the rug. So that's that exhibit. I'm very proud of that. That was really a cathartic sort of moment that pushed me in the direction that I'm going today, that I didn't expect to do either. So,
are there plans then to make that a traveling exhibit?
yes, absolutely. We want to do, I think the next session is we're shooting some participants down in D.C., and we want to get it up to maybe 20 or so photos, and then I think the focus is going to be traveling it around to universities and colleges and organizations throughout the country. And and then that will be a way of raising awareness and also funds for the foundation to continue to, do what our core mission is to help, victims and survivors.
Great. That's great. Let's step back a little bit and talk about you and your training. Are you trained, or were you trained as an actor, as a theatrical actor, or have you done any acting?
Yeah. Was I trained? Absolutely. I went to the University at Buffalo, and I trained in their Department of Theater and Dance. Had amazing professors that introduced me to the art form of acting. Stephen McKinley Henderson is one of the major ones. He was very instrumental in really showing me that this was something that I can do. I did a play with him called My Children, My Africa, and it was me, him, and another young lady. And in that play, I had to do a South African dialect, and I also had a 10-page monologue. And I was going up against, at the time, one of my idols, as far as an actor goes. And so that experience was amazing. And, I did 4 years there and came back to New York City in the 90s, I think around 91 or 92, and started immediately working off-Broadway in a theater company called Current Repertory Theater. And I did soap work and some television work, and just everything kind of jumped off from there. And I evolved into being a writer, producer, director, just from experience in repertory with Current Rep. So that's where I'm at today with my own production company and producing and doing my own stuff. So I would say a bulk of my experience, my foundation of training was at the University of Buffalo, and the bulk of my evolution as an artist was like in real life here in New York City when I came back.
That's outstanding. As a matter of fact, I recall seeing a video of you on a television show back in the 90s.
New York Undercover, yeah.
New York Undercover.
Uh-huh.
It's so funny. I can't recall where I saw it, but someone said you were in the episode where there was a doctor who wanted to harvest your organs. Tell me about that. Did I have it right?
You have it absolutely right. It's called Spare Parts, New York Undercover, which was the #1 show at the time. And I had done, you have to understand, at the time I was on the road, I was on All My Children doing a bit parts for almost 2 years. I had did Players, which was the Ice-T show, Law and Order. I did just like kind of like what people do now. They do bit parts or whatever, and they get exposure. But New York Undercover was a big thing because that character, Robert Crossley, was pivotal to the entire kind of plot line, because he was like one that, Malik Yoba and, the rest of the cast was like trying to find and save, and, it's this big build up, and then there I was, wasn't a lot of lines or whatever, but there was just a big build up to the character. They used my image and picture. And I was young, and I had dreadlocks, and, and the funny thing about that episode is I never saw it until recently, like everybody else. Everybody at the time when it came out was telling me that they saw it, my sister and my parents and whatever have you. But I hadn't seen that episode until I actually, I YouTubed it.
Wow.
And I just saw it within the last couple of months, maybe 2 months ago. Yeah, for the first time. So it's so interesting in our business, in show business, we're so busy doing and doing and doing that a lot of the times we don't have a chance to see the results of what it is we do. And, people review us and whatever have you, but as the actual artist, like, a lot of times I don't see the work I do. I just do it. And I feel lucky when I have a chance to see it. So, yeah, that's New York Undercover. It was an amazing experience, being on the set and having my own trailer and being on the production sheet, next to Malik Yoba and my name there, and, it's my first major credit and so on and so forth. I still get checks for that episode, by the way, called residuals.
So you are in the union. You are
Yes.
a SAG.
SAG after. Yep, absolutely.
Okay, and you also mentioned All My Children.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What part did you play there, and is there any possibility of ever finding that footage? That would be interesting.
Well, you know what? That would be interesting to find. I guess you could probably YouTube it and find me on there. I would be called, I was a recurring under 5 player, which means I wasn't a major character, but I was being groomed to be that. So I was like a PVU student or a person that's in the town. People would say that, extra at some points, but under 5 at others, so I was a PVU student, Pond Valley University student. For any of those that know, All My Children takes place in this little town outside of New York City called Pine Valley. And yeah, worked with Susan Lucci and Kelly Ripper was on there at the time, and Mark Swello and Michelle Geller, so it was just really, that was one of my first times being on a, ABC studio set, and just really feeling like, wow, I'm headed down that road to professionalism of this business that I want to be in. So that was exciting. Yeah, definitely. That's how I got, well, listen, that's how I got into into AFTRA, because at the time there was 2 separate unions. So if you did soap operas, you were in AFTRA. You automatically had to sign up for AFTRA. And then if you got a speaking part on, say, New York Undercover, then you became eligible for SAG. And so that's how that kind of progressed. And so now I'm a member of both, which have merged anyway. So.
Oh, okay. That's great. That is that's good. Are you also do you also sing and dance?
That's a good question.
You know what? Tell me about the shower in the morning.
Well, I do sing in the shower in the morning, but I have officially, since the earlier this year, once again, my degree was in theater and dance, so I did take dance, theory dance, and all that stuff in college, but I never really took it serious. I was really focused on the acting, and I kind of did the dance to sort of just, fulfill the requirements. But this year, now that I made the decision to go back into the industry and be a part of my project, Cyber Sex to Play, I said, listen, I need to get my body together. I need to know how to sing, and I need to know how to dance not just the MTV, buoy pumping, like whatever, because I can do that with my eyes closed. But I need to know how to do choreography and the technical dancing things. So I have been taking jazz class twice a week with a renowned choreographer and teacher who is the protege of Bob Fosse. And that's been amazing and tough and learning, experience. And I feel proficient in that. And I started taking tap, which is very difficult. You would think that that would be easy. And I've been doing that for several months, once a week. And I started recently taking voice lessons. And to my astonishment, from the voice teacher who's been in the industry for 60 years, told me that I had a very strong instrument and a voice, and that I had a great range and powerful voice. So, it's all about training. I think you can have a natural gift or a natural talent, and sometimes you don't know it. Like I didn't know about dancing and singing. So it's funny that you asked. But now I know, and I'm training to get better.
On social media, I've noticed a number of photos of yourself in fashion shows
Mm-hmm.
and photo sessions and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
So are you also modeling?
Oh, Mr. Esteem, that's another one. I didn't plan on doing, I don't consider myself to be a model, although, photographers, say that I'm photogenic and have captured some really powerful images. And I've sort of been asked, I walked in New York Fashion Week this year for the first time ever, at 46 years old, with these young 20-year-old, models that, that like this is their life, and I kind of got offered the opportunity from my designer, wardrobe designer from Cyber Sex to Play. His name is Adrian Alicea. He asked me to walk in the show. And so
Wow.
yeah, that was major. That was major. New York Fashion Week, Mercedes-Benz New York Fashion Week, spring, summer 2015, I walked in. And that was an amazing experience. And what happened was the moment I realized that I was going to do it, I said, I'm not going to let these little 20-year-olds show me up. So I took my butt to the gym every day, 7 days a week, if not 2 times a day, up until the show. And let me tell you something. I did that show, not to brag, but I did that show, and I ended up getting nominated by a website as being one of the most outrageous beauties of New York Fashion Week for spring, summer 2015. And there were 104 models in that show, and I was the only one chosen from Adrian's show. And on the list, there were like 10 beauties, and I was the only black man, and the rest were white women. So go figure that one out. Break that one down and figure that out. So the photographers that captured, some of those images that you have seen, they said, you really should think about, pursuing, the modeling. You could do it. You could do, definitely athletic stuff, or suits or eyeglasses or whatever have you, that have a really strong features and stuff like that. So that's something that I'm also going to pursue. Why not? It's fun. But I didn't set out to be one. Put it like that.
Well, I
never trained either. So
I didn't set out to be a sexy model who could also act and write and produce his own play. But if it just happened, it just, hey, what can I say?
I mean, I don't know. That's the truth of the matter. But I think it's about allowing yourself to grow and and being open to learning. So I guess you could say I'm one of the lucky ones, or I just follow my opportunities as they present themselves. And I work very hard. Like, people that know me, and if you really get into my social media beyond the images that people see that are titillating or sexy or whatever people want to call them. If you actually read my posts, I share a lot of information about what it takes to be a working artist, a professional artist, like what it takes to get into SAG, what it takes to, really maintain your mind, body, and spirit and be able to go to New York Fashion Week and turn it out, and then the next day, do whatever it is you have to do. So that's one of the movements that I have in social media. It's not just about posting pictures, but, hopefully people will, and some do, a lot do actually, I should say, read the post and understand that there is a method behind the madness of my mission in social media. And it's to help other artists understand what it takes. It doesn't happen overnight, and it's a lot of hard work.
What do you want people to retain from your work? What is the one message you want people to retain?
I want people to understand that it's about humanity, it's about love, about respect of self, love of self, and therefore you can have respect and love of others. At the end of the day, I want to do projects and write projects and be involved with projects that lift up humanity or tells the truth about humanity, the good, the bad, and the ugly. It's not just about, looking at things through rose-colored glasses. It's about, looking at reality and having compassion and understanding and respect for people and where they are. So that's the thing I want people to take away from my work as an artist and as a advocate and person,